The world of ice and fire is a world of mystery and lost history, a world of wonder and terror and magic where dragons, white walkers, and wars make their homes. It is a world of cruelty and beauty and injustice. Throughout the eons there are tales of kingdoms rising and falling, great heroes against impossible odds, and darkness that is absolute and consuming. In the world of ice and fire, even the seasons battle for dominance. But is there purpose behind the chaos of this world? What voices whisper in the dreams of our characters, nudging them, pushing them into their destinies? And what voice speaks from the flames, and the sea, and the ice, and the trees? In this video, I will attempt to answer these questions. If you look closely, just about everywhere in the world of ice and fire can be found an eerie black stone. In the jungles of Sathoros lies a ruin said to be older than time, where even the green of the earth fears to tread. It is made entirely of the black stone, with blocks so large that it would require dozens of elephants to maneuver. Aegon's sister wife Nymeria called this place a city so evil that even the jungle will not enter, and every attempt to rebuild or resettle this place has ended only in grief and horror. This place is called Yin. On the Iron Islands, it is unknown where the sea stone chair came from. It was discovered by the first settlers of the isle, and they took it as their throne. It is made of the same black stone. At Battle Isle, the base of the high tower is also made of this stone. Again, its origins are unexplained. Even the reason behind the name of the isle has been lost to the ages. The 5 forts of Yi Ti stand guarding the empire from what lies beyond the frozen gray waste. Again, its origin and purpose are lost and shrouded in legend and mystery. There is the idol of Toad Isle that is worshipped by the locals there, and there is of course the ancient city Ashai that is built from the ground up of the same strange and eerie stone. All of these objects have in common that their origins are lost to time. They seem to be relics of some old forgotten civilization, a kingdom that inhabited from the shores all the way to the edge of Essos, into the heart of darkness. What happened to the beings that built these artifacts, and where are they now? They seemingly have vanished, leaving only this black stone. I have speculated in the past that the Deep Ones of Lovecraftian fame were involved. This idea was proposed by Maester Therion of the Iron Islands, who claimed that both the Sea Stone Chair and the base at Battle Isle was created by these sea-dwelling entities. Though the legends of the Deep Ones and the Merlings are prominent in Westeros, especially amongst the shore-dwelling people, I now suspect that there is far more involved. Some of the oldest stories in Westeros come from the Golden Empire of Yi Ti, whose fabled lands were ancient even before men took up swords against the children of Westeros. Their legends speak of a prosperous place where civilization thrived and people lived harmoniously under the rule of the Dawn Emperor. And according to legend, rather than die, he ascended into the stars. It is now my belief that as he ascended, something else fell to the earth. It was the Black Stone. Yi Ti fell into chaos. The Black Stone consumed the mind of the Bloodstone Emperor, and he slew his own sister and ushered in the greatest darkness that this world has ever known. Because with the coming of the Black Stone came the others. Not the frozen White Walkers of legend, but the other deities from the stars. I am proposing that the Dawn Emperor of legend was indeed more than a man, but instead a long-lived being from beyond the stars, and at the end of his millennius-long reign, he ascended back into the heavens, and others saw the vacancy that he left, and they swarmed. This was the coming of the Great Old Ones. For 10,000 years the great empire of the Dawn flourished in peace and plenty under the God on earth. Dominion over mankind then passed to his eldest son, who was known as the Pearl Emperor. Yet every reign was shorter and more troubled than the one preceding it, for wild men and baleful beasts pressed at the borders of their great empire. If you are confused, allow me to explain. In the work of Lovecraft, from which Martin borrows heavily. There are a slew of entities which were said to inhabit the earth long before mankind. They were numerous and diverse in temperament and form. They were beings from the stars of unimaginable power, but not true deities, although they were worshipped by many human and non-human cults. They are known as the Great Old Ones. As the eons passed, they fell into death-like sleep, where their interactions with mankind are limited, generally imprisoned beneath the sea, inside the earth, in other dimensions. They'd interact with men through dreams and suggestion, and black stone. The most famous of these beings would be Cthulhu, who sleeps dead dreaming beneath the sea, in his house at Relay. Cthulhu whispers to the minds of humanity, spreading chaos and anxiety. As some of you may know, the religion of the Drowned God, which is prominent in the Iron Islands of Westeros, is in many ways inspired by the worship of Cthulhu. What is dead may never die is merely a play on a saying by Cthulhu worshippers. Many times in our story, you may notice characters seem to be pulled into incredible circumstances. Dany, after many mysterious and terrifying dreams, manages to perform ancient magic which allows for the birth of her dragons. It is almost as though the knowledge was planted into her head. In my Understanding the Birth of Dragons video, I identified two distinct wills being imposed upon her. One seeking to birth dragons into the world, and one seeking to prevent them. In the lore of Lovecraft, the gods are often at odds with each other, using mortals as pawns in their greater games, often through dreams, as I mentioned before. We witness in A Game of Thrones the battle for Dany's mind. Neither of these forces is necessarily good or evil, they simply are impartial. An ongoing theme of A Song of Ice and Fire is that the High Lords play their Game of Thrones, and the common folk beneath them suffer. I put forth that there is another game being played, a game that makes the Game of Thrones look like child's play. It is the game for dominion of the earth. The religion of the Red God tells a tale of two beings locked in eternal conflict, opposing each other, each with mortal servants on earth. In earlier videos, I have compared these entities to Hastar, the Unspeakable One, whose name, like the Great Other, is not to be uttered, and Cthulhu, like R'hllor and the Great Other, they oppose each other fiercely. In the Winds of Winter, in a dream brought on by the shade of the evening, the wine of warlocks, Aerion Greyjoy sees his brother Euron as the Lovecraftian god Cthulhu, sitting upon the Iron Throne, with all the other gods of the world impaled, dead upon it. He saw his brother on the throne again, but Euron was no longer human. He seemed more squid than man, a monster fathered by a kraken of the deep, his face a mass of writhing tentacles. "The bleeding star bespoke the end," he said to Aeron. "These are the last days when the world shall be broken and remade. A new god shall be born from the grave's uncharnel pits." So according to Euron, a new god shall rise to claim the world, and in doing so, the world shall be broken, just as it was after the Bloodstone Emperor brought about his reign of terror on the world, leading to the Long Night. And according to the people of the further east, the world has been a broken place ever since. George R. R. Martin has thrown elements of cosmic horror into his story, and it can only aid to the bittersweet ending that he has teased at. The irrelevance of mankind is a common theme in all of Lovecraft's work. While we are so focused on who wins the Iron Throne, we may be thrown for a loop when none of it matters at all. Euron said the bleeding star bespoke the end, but not the end of time, only the end of their world as they know it. Something fundamentally changed in their world the day the comet fell. Magic returned to the world, though many readers and many characters in our story contribute this to the dragons. Dany sees the bleeding star in A Game of Thrones before the dragons are born. So if anything, it was the comet that led to the birth of the dragons, not the other way around. In H.P. Lovecraft's The Color from Outer Space, a meteorite crashed from the sky. It poisoned every living being near it. Animals were driven mad and deformed into grotesque shapes. Vegetation was foul-tasting and inedible, and the people would go mad or die off slowly. What crashed was something beyond the scope of human understanding, something truly alien. The effects of the meteorite, the inability to grow food, the foul, undrinkable water, the animals that die mysteriously when brought near it, are all problems also found in Asshai, the ancient city made of black stone which sits just southwest of the Heart of Darkness, where at its core exists Dagai, also referred to as the Corpse City. Corpse City is a reference to R'lyeh in Lovecraftian lore, which is also referred to as the Corpse City. R'lyeh is the home of the great Old One Cthulhu. It is said that Cthulhu waits dead dreaming, and when he wakes from his slumber, he would reclaim the earth for his own, spreading despair to the inhabitants of the world. It would be quite odd indeed if real Lovecraftian deities inhabited the world of ice and fire, and I am not suggesting that they do. But what I am suggesting is that similar beings in nature indeed do lurk amongst the lesser beings of this world, inspiring religions such as the worship of R'lyeh or the Black Goat or the Pale Child. It is no coincidence that Euron speaks of the Comet when speaking of the coming of this new god. The Bloodstone Emperor of Yi was said to worship a stone that fell from the sky. The stone, even though it corrupted him, gave him immense power. Euron himself seems to defy what many believe to be possible. He has sailed to Valyria and returned, with various artifacts including the Dragon Binder, a full suit of Valyrian armor which no other on Earth possesses, and possibly another, which is gone unnoticed by most, although it's hidden in plain sight, a piece of the Comet. While under the influence of the shade of the evening, the damp hair sees his brother Euron in Valyrian armor, but he also sees something that few others have, Euron's eye. He showed the world his blood eye now, dark and terrible. It is immediately after this that Euron mentions the Comet, so here are the connections. Blood eye sounds a lot like Bloodstone. We know that Yi-Ti's Bloodstone Emperor worshipped a stone that fell from the sky. We know that the red comet was seen throughout the earth, but is it possible that it crashed? If so, then where? Perhaps a place where no man could look. Valyria. But Euron defied this. He sailed to Old Valyria. He found the comet. He communed with the fallen god, and became its thrall. And now he wears a piece of the comet within his empty eye socket, and the entity sees through him. In exchange for power, Euron has agreed to serve the will of this entity in the same way that Bloodstone did. In the Winds of Winter, Euron appears to be performing strange and cruel rituals. Could they be similar to the dark rituals performed by the Bloodstone Emperor all those millennia ago? Bloodstone was said to be the leader of the Church of the Starry Wisdom, which is again another Lovecraftian reference. In Lovecraftian lore, members of the church worship the Haunter of the Dark, another malevolent deity. The Song of Ice and Fire is a game, and Planetos is the playing ground. Euron represents the coming of its newest player. The lives of the people who inhabit this world are not their own. They are manipulated, prodded, and pushed by forces beyond their control or understanding. Amoral beings with unseen form masquerade as gods and devils, creating the illusion of good and evil. In the face of such beings, White Walkers and dragons are merely more pieces on the game board.